People, deluded, I'm back again. Arsenal 2, Tottenham 2, and both teams share the North London derby spoils. Both teams walk away with a point. I'm sure, obviously, because of the way the game went, both teams will take a point because Arsenal had to come back from behind, and Spurs were obviously in the game, but they were on the back foot. I'm sure Spurs fans would agree for large periods, so they'll take a point before the game. Of course, both teams wanted to beat one another for obvious reasons, and more so because of losing last week. But I'm sure both sets of fans, would have taken a point. So we live to fight another day. I feel both teams deserve to walk away with something. Yes, Arsenal piled on a ridiculous amount of pressure, and we should have probably scored. We'll get onto why we conceded in a bit. But I think Spurs posted a good threat on the counter attack, especially when Son was on the pitch. Kane didn't have the best of games, but he scored, and he definitely had some good moments, and he obviously hit the post. For an Arsenal perspective, individual errors, because we can sit here and say ifs and buts, and if that didn't happen, Spurs don't score and we score 2 goals and win the game, we can sit here and say that, people. But we can only deal with facts in life. So ifs and buts. If I was taller, I could have been a footballer, I guess, people. We can only deal with the facts. And if you don't want to deal with the facts, particularly in top 6 games, we find ourselves sitting here and saying if this didn't happen and that didn't happen, this would happen. So you see what I'm saying? It's a North London derby, people. And from an Arsenal perspective, I always call for my team to show character, commitment, heart, and die for the cause. And I saw all 4 of that today, them 4 things. So I think every player can leave that field feeling they played well, not everybody, but feeling they played well, excluding individual errors, but with commitment, man. I always call for it, and I saw it today, and I'm proud of my Arsenal players, man. Even at 2-0 down, I felt we was going to score. From a Spurs perspective as well, I will say Spurs, to be honest, obviously we're not Manchester City level, but Spurs walked away with a point against City, and considering how the game potentially went here today, they'll be happy with a point because we were all over them. Obviously, on one hand, you can say they were 2-0 up and they've walked away dropping 2 points. If that potentially is Arsenal, you know what the headlines is saying, people. And obviously, I have to mention Dele Alli and Kane diving, people. Them lot are swimming. But on a serious note, yeah, man, there's many, depending on how you look at it, it's one of them games, it's one of them weird games, man. I feel obviously in Arsenal case, individual errors. I felt we started the game superbly, people, like you saw. I think Spurs, I don't want to speculate, I'm not in the dressing room and things like that, but for me, just as a fan looking at it, I did feel that Arsenal's fans were getting on top of them, on top of the Arsenal fans being buzzing and projecting that energy to the team. It did feel like something's going on in the background with them Spurs lads, and it's kind of filtering in. Obviously, Davinson Sanchez had a tough time today at right back. I think he did well in some individual moments, but he had a tough time. And we was getting in behind and troubling them, and they were nervous playing out from the back, and we were over them. Like, we were having some decent opportunities. Obviously, you saw Maitland-Niles have a decent effort. There was numerous decent efforts throughout the whole game, people. And the only time I felt kind of scared for Arsenal was the last 5-10 minutes, because it seemed like both teams' game plan gone out the window. Spurs were counter-attacking a lot, but first period I think it was a strong start from Arsenal, but at the end of the day we're not taking our chances. I feel Aubameyang is on the left hand side, he's working hard. Lacazette, he came off injured, hopefully it's not nothing serious, but he worked his socks off and obviously scored to get us in the game. We'll get on to that. Aubameyang worked hard for the team. Pepe is going to be a baller in this league, people. I swear he technically got an assist and he showed that he's on taking people on. I feel Maitland-Niles played quite well as well. I feel Guendouzi, people looked at the score sheet from the fixture sheet, I'm so happy I don't even know what it is. People looked at the team sheet, people, and the first one they're looking at is why is Guendouzi starting. And I think if he done certain things other midfielders done today, people be on his back, and he had a good performance today. The Aubameyang assist is just a pick of the bunch, but I'm very impressed with everybody, excluding the obvious repeat offenders, but big up Guendouzi, man. In true Arsenal fashion, obviously if you don't take your chances in football, you can't win a football match, and Spurs go ahead. Obviously Xhaka misses out in a 50-50 header, but you're looking at Sokratis. Why is he in that position? Why is he 2 man going for the same ball? Sokratis is out of position. I think Maitland-Niles and the other players have actually done their job. They're essentially trying to get back, and it doesn't happen for us. And what, wasn't it Eriksen who put it in the back of the net? And it's a kick in the teeth from an Arsenal perspective, because we've played so well. We've now gone behind, failed to keep a clean sheet. Leno, obviously, I feel Leno recovered well after making that mistake. He almost did it again, but he made some good saves after that. He's got to punch it or he's got to hold on to it. He just simply got to do better. Leno, there are a couple moments he does things like that. It's a cheap goal to concede. It's an individual mistake from Leno. Spurs went ahead with Eriksen and we're digging ourselves a mountain. Obviously, The penalty incident with Xhaka, what can we say? You've seen it, people. It's complete brainlessness. I don't know why he's sliding in and taking out Son. They get a penalty. This is how the script goes with Arsenal. I actually tweeted we get a pen. Not because I did think we would, but statistically there's always a pen in this game. Should have put a tenner on that, people. But Kane steps up, no mistake, 2-0. We've got a mountain to climb. The funny thing is, you do feel it could be too much for Arsenal to get through now. You're thinking Spurs are cool. But I felt there was something in this game, people. Obviously, it's easy for everyone to sit here. But I know you lot felt we can score goals in this game because Spurs are respecting us too much. Yes, they have encounters and statistically they had opportunities, but I think Spurs are respecting us too much. We're all over Spurs. From an Arsenal perspective, the commitment levels from the players to get up and down the field, to be positive, the bravery I'm seeing, people, I'm liking it. So you're thinking there are opportunities to get back in this game, and we're having a couple opportunities. Lacazette, obviously, I'm thinking to myself, people, if we're going to get back in this game, we need a goal before half-time. I didn't think it was going to happen. But the big man, Lacazette, who's playing quite well, worked his socks off today, unfortunate about his injury. It's a lovely goal. It's a lovely goal from him, people. He thumps it in with his left foot. Mess celebration from the saucy striker. We go into half-time at 2-1, people. At 2-1, and at half time I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, I think we can get goals in this game. I do think even at 2-1 down there's goals in this game. I do think it's a case of the same mistakes, individual errors. You can't necessarily blame Socrates for the goal, but you can say Socrates and Leno had a part to play in the first. Obviously Xhaka for the second. Emre can set up the team all he wants and things like that, and I feel the game plan was good, but what he can't account for is individual errors. These players have to remain focused, in which 3 players in certain incidences, not just them, because if you watch it again it's probably something different, failed to do that. So it's this lag against Liverpool, and probably the best example last season against United, Old Trafford, or almost any big game where we've conceded. It's a sequence of errors and individuals' inability to focus for large periods, people. Many people could say we would have won this game if we didn't concede them 2 errors, and that might be true, but we can't deal with ifs and buts. We can only deal with what's actually happened, people, especially from an Arsenal perspective. So I'm kind of thinking about the individual errors, the mountain to climb. I'm thinking about possible changes, because I must admit it did look to me, I think Torreira did alright today, but it does look like Torreira needs new boots because he's always falling on the floor in this game. 2, he is looking like he's carrying something. So I'm actually looking at Xhaka's just not cutting the mustard for me. I'm not going to lie, people. The commitment's there, the talent's just not there in this game. The ability in this particular game. So I'm looking at them potentially. What can we do? Can we bring on Ceballos at half time? What can we do? I feel Guendouzi is playing quite well. Like I said, I feel Spurs look quite strong on the counter. In fact, not even I think. You lot saw they look strong on the counter. They did have some opportunities that potentially Pochettino might look back with his team and think we probably should have scored here, we could have scored here, we could have caused more issues here. I have to hail up Pepe, people. I think he's going to be a special player. When he gets that 1 goal, I hope it's a thing where he never stops going, and I don't want to put no labels on him and things, but I'm keen to see what he looks like in a year or 2 when he's got Premier League experience, because he played against Liverpool, he started against Liverpool, started today, and I think he's been, well, both games he's been one of the best players on the field. So there's some positives, people. We just simply need to take our chances. I feel there are more goals in this game. I genuinely feel that. Where's my second half note? Obviously, second half, you saw we did have some opportunities. Kolasinac wasn't quite, his legs weren't quite long enough for one of the crosses. We had a couple, we were pressing them, forcing the issue in the second half, and I was keen to see that from start to finish. I don't know what's going on with Spurs, but in terms of derbies, it's probably been the most confident general derby I've seen Arsenal play Spurs in recent years. Because even last season, in the game, you're confident in that. But I don't want to say it was one-sided, because I don't feel it was, but it did feel a bit Arsenal-centric in this game, people, to a degree. We're having chances. Spurs are still counter-attacking, and I can't lie, people, for as good as I think we're playing, we're starting to get tired, and I'm starting to see us get into old habits. I'm starting to see 3v3 defensively. I'm starting to see people not dropping back and things like that. And they're having a couple of opportunities. There was one, Aubameyang lost the ball on the left-hand side. Kolasinac switched off. I can't even remember what Spurs lad it was, but they earned the corner from it. So these are the things that are scaring me. And obviously there was one lovely 1-2 in the second half where Kane hit the inside of the post, man. Like, Kane was on a mission in them sort of things. I like the introduction of Ceballos. I think that was a good substitution from Emery. I think he injected some energy. Even things like just when we're a goal down, taking that shot to keep gassing the fans and the team and things. Obviously, Dele Alli was diving, but and again, if it was my team, I'd be livid. But it was nice to see Ceballos holding Dele Alli and kind of annoying people. I mean, I know Socrates kind of does that, and you saw him and Winks have handbags. From an Arsenal perspective, that sort of dark art, trying to rattle the other team, get underneath their skin, sort of handbag stuff, has been missing from Arsenal for a while, people. And I did think we was going to score, but the more it's going on, I'm starting to feel, okay, cool. Is it going to be a 2-1 where we lose to Spurs and my friends are just going to talk nonsense? But in the game, we know what could have happened. And then you saw Guendouzi. Like I said, people owe that guy an apology, because many of my friends and people that I follow on Twitter and just the whole Twitter universe and people just on all social medias, they were quite upset that Guendouzi started. And I know he's not perfect and he does frustrate, but he's a young lad, people. He's a good player. He has got potential to be a good player, and he was the best central midfielder on that field today from an Arsenal perspective. That is a lovely pass from for Aubameyang. Aubameyang, you know, he gets his goal. And for me, he needs that goal, man. I feel Aubameyang, obviously, you look at his performances against some top 6 games and they haven't quite been there. Sometimes they've been there, but they haven't. And I feel throughout the game, he looked like a threat from a Spurs perspective. You would actually want Aubameyang out wide, because think about it, if I'm a defender, I don't want Aubameyang running in behind or facing me up. I'd rather him on the flanks where his crossing might not be the best, or he'll try and dribble and he'll run into people traffic. You get it, where I'm going with that, people. But I feel Aubameyang worked his socks off, and I felt his performance deserved a goal, because we know that he had a good performance today. But statistically, when we move on from this and play a couple other top 6 games and necessarily forget about the micro, what happened in this game, we might say, Aubameyang, what are you doing in the top games? We need something from you. So I was happy to see him score. Obviously, I'm happy to see Lacazette score. People, I could be wrong, but I swear Pepe technically got an assist, and even if he didn't, he put in a great performance today, man. Excluding the individual errors, I'm happy man to a man, people. You don't know me, I can't speak for other YouTubers, but I ain't got agendas. I speak honestly from my heart and what I believe, and I was impressed with what I saw today. Away from the goals and stuff, I just like the fight back. We made them individual errors, and we can sit here and harp on about that, but these things happen in football, even if you're going to win titles and things, and it's how we're a long way from that, obviously, but it's how you react. So I'm proud of the lads for showing character and saying, okay, Leno and Xhaka, it happens, innit? If we can get through this. I'm happy to see we got back in the game. I'm happy to see there was a never die never attitude. I'm happy to see Emery went with Pepe, Lacazette and Aubameyang, and they repaid his faith, people. I must admit, there were periods in the game I can see, and I've said it when they came, I said they don't all need to play every game together. We want them to. You look at Liverpool, their front three is more or less playing all the time. Obviously there's rotation, but they don't need to play all the time. And I must admit, there was periods, people, I could see why potentially Emery might not play them all the time, because you look when Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe are all together, it does look like someone is going to be slightly out of the creative picture in that. Today it was probably Aubameyang. He got involved and he obviously had opportunities, but Lacazette was central, Pepe had his outlet. Aubameyang, I won't say he was feeding off scraps, but you get what I'm saying, people. And he still did it well. Potentially there's a way to get around that if we can think of it. But I'm happy, man. Obviously, the individual errors are the individual errors. We know they shouldn't be happening. We can draw several examples, basically, from Liverpool and Arsenal this season. And over the last 18 months, really, over Arsenal's performances in top 6 games. So the individual errors are always going to be a part of this thing for now. It happened. We showed character. At the end of the day, we was losing and we got a point from the game. So I can't complain. From a Spurs perspective, I don't know how their fans feel, but if I was them, I'd be happy that I can walk away with a point, because it didn't feel like it didn't feel definitely before they scored that they would get anything from the game, and they walk away with something similar to, again, it's not the same game as City, but when you look at the in-game context, is to walk away with a point is impressive from City and from City and Arsenal from a Spurs perspective. But on the other hand, to go 2 goals up, to be counter-attacking to full effect, and seeing what Liverpool did last week. Could you be upset that you dropped 3 points, people, considering that you lost last week and you could have made a decent amount of ground on Arsenal earlier in the season? But there's ifs and buts for both managers to look at. There's positives and negatives for both managers to look at. At the end of the day, it's a point. Both sets of fans can rest easy. There's no agendas, because you know them Spurs fans and football fans in general were going to come for us if Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe didn't have decent games, because I'm sure Arsenal fans like myself, you've been giving it to fans, United and Chelsea fans yesterday, people, and it could have been our time, but it wasn't. So we live to breathe another day, man. And yeah, we've got a point from our last 2 games against the top 6. It's not a great return. I was ideally looking for 4 to 6. In Arsenal fashion, we get 1, but it is what it is, people. Definitely from the Spurs game, there's some encouragement to take. And like I said, people, when players are having poor performances and things, certain people are the first to mock them. So you've got to praise them equally, man. And I'm happy, excluding the individual errors that cost us, from an Arsenal perspective, potentially 3 points, and the individuals that did, such as, well, Leno recovered, but man to a man, fantastic. I won't say fantastic because that might be going overboard, but great performance from the lads, and I'm ecstatic from Arsenal, really and truly, man to a man. Big up Lacazette as well. Like I said, fingers crossed, everything crossed that it's not a serious injury, because Lacazette, I know he wants to play every game, especially in the big games. For him to ask to come off, is it a recurrence of the injury he allegedly had at the start of the year? I'm not too sure. Personally, also, people, it did look like Torreira is carrying something, people. I can see why maybe Emre's been reluctant to start him, and I know myself and a lot of you, we've been saying, oh, why ain't Torreira starting, this and that, for the last few weeks, and we're fans, we can only talk about that. But potentially Emre, well, not even potentially, Emre is seeing things we're not, so we might have to cut some slack where due. But for now, Spurs 2, Arsenal 2, Arsenal 2, Tottenham 2, whatever way you want it, we walk away with a decent point, man. And we can, if we can just use this same fight, take out the individual errors and move forward into our next fixtures, it is what it is, people. Because is it Watford next? I could be wrong. Is it Watford? Don't quote me, people. I don't know who we have next, but I do know at the end of, well, we're in September now, so at the end of the month, we've got United away. We could have won there last season if it wasn't for individual errors. I can sit here and say ifs and buts. The facts are we drew there. If we can get 3 points where we haven't travelled there well enough in the last few years, it would be big for us. But yeah, man, I've been harping on and waffling on, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. People, thank you for watching. Before you get away, make sure you check out my podcast. The link will be in the description. Make sure you follow me on all my socials. Links in the description. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like, and make sure you comment your opinions. People, it's been a pleasure. DG, I'm out.